So today we're going to work on a portfolio website for a photographer. And I put the HTML PDF and the CSS PDF here, and you want to download the zip file. That's where all the starting files are. Now, as far as your 5-page website goes, it's a pass-fail thing. So if you didn't get it in time, just turn it in, and then I'll change your grade from 0 to A. And it's going to be the same thing with this. I want a collection of your assets for your portfolio. I just want you to tell me that you've collected all the things you want to put on your website. So the site we'll be building today is this one. And it has some cool stuff in it. It's responsive. Uses little pictograms here for, Facebook. And then you can expand it. It can become 2 columns, or it can become 3 columns, or really it doesn't matter how wide it is. These things are called cards in website design. And typically you'll see them with a product. This one we have a special effect. When you roll over it, it will expand the picture a little bit. Usually there's a read more and it will pop full screen, or it'll take you somewhere else. Down the road, we'll get more sophisticated with that. This is different parts where if you only want the nature ones to show up, they would show up. Business, you'd only have the business one show up. So it's not working because you need JavaScript for that. But this part here would be a filter for the different topics that you wanted, and it would isolate all these things. That part here needs to be done with JavaScript, and it's not going to be functional in this case. So you can see you have a menu bar across the top, and it fades into a background image. And then eventually the menu bar across the top changes to a stacked layout based on the width of the thing. So it's just more practice is really all it is, rather than just, watching me go through a textbook and do some actual stuff. So the first thing we need to do is open up. I'm going to drag this over the Visual Studio Code here. And I trust the authors of this. I'm just going to pull out the PDFs and this stuff so I don't get confused by it for now. And now I just have the final stuff. So I'm going to create my own index.html. And then we'll also create our own style sheet, style.css, so we can practice doing that. In the index.html, I'll put a exclamation mark, hit the tab key, so it sticks in all the boilerplate stuff here. And we're going to call this website, this is for a photographer, called Hitchum Med. And it'll be Hitchum Med Photography, just to give you an idea of what it would be like to put a portfolio website together. We are going to use some fonts here, but first I want to link. So right after the title, I'll do link, and I will link, hit the tab key, and I want to link it to my style sheet. Okay, so now we got to get our fonts. So I'm going to actually put the font line above this particular link right here. So I'm going to go over to Google Fonts. Fonts.google. What you need to download is the Hitchum Med website, and you'll get the images, and I'm just starting off right now on the PDFs there and everything else. So the fonts that we're using right now, one is called POIRET. So there it is. I'm going to grab this, select the style right here. And then I'm going to grab another one. Two browse fonts. I'm going to grab another one called Roboto. And that's this one. And we need Roboto at, I'll just need it at medium. So there'll be a lot. You remember, you don't want to download what you don't need. So you choose to do it thin, or you could choose to do it light. Let's go with the light. Choose that one. And then we should be able to get our code. So let's see here. There it is. What I want to do now is to make sure I have the Pare, I guess it would be, and Roboto in there. And I'm just going to grab this link. Now, as time goes by, you'll see all the stuff keeps changing all the time, because Google does that. I mean, every couple of weeks they change stuff. So in this particular case, we're going to link it on our HTML page, but if you wanted to import it, you could do that. I'm just going to grab all this stuff here and copy this to my clipboard, and then I'm going to come over and paste it before my style sheet, kind of like tuck this in. There's a couple more links than there used to be in examples, like you have pre-connect links right now, which were never there before, and then suddenly they're there. So, and then we want the font family. So I'm going to copy these two here for now. Go over to my style sheet and paste them, but so I don't break the page, I'm going to select both of them and hit Command/, so it's a remark. So later on, when I get to the CSS, I can just cut out each line and get it. Okay, so that takes care of that one. Now, the font awesome thing, we're going to cut out of the existing final. So I'm in index-final.html. I'm going to word wrap this. And I'm going to grab this line here. It says link to style cdn.js.cloudflare. So Cloudflare is a place that hosts other hosting companies. It's kind of like up the chain. This can copy that whole line, and this will give us access to version 4.7.0. The guy that puts up Font Awesome used to give stuff a lot of stuff away for free, and now you got to like pay an annual thing if you want more sophisticated ones. There's still some free stuff there, but we're just going to use the free stuff. Mostly the free stuff for social media icons. So I'm going to just come over there, copy it from the older one. It's an older version of this, but it'll work. So I paste that. So now I got my header done. I have my Font Awesome icons for my, social media icons. Then I have the fonts that I want to use. I have the title tag in there, and I have it linked to my style sheet. Okay, so we're going to start off with the body tag now. And type in header. And I know this stuff is tedious and I move kind of fast. That's why it helps to have the PDF open if you can. I have it on my tablet here. If you don't have a tablet, put it next to your screen. And you might have to come back and watch the videos later. It's really tedious to learn this stuff, but the only way you can learn it is by practicing it. Just like, chords on a guitar, it's tedious to do that. It's tedious to do scales on a piano. But you got to go through the motion. Same thing in any sports. You got to practice and practice until you got it down. So the rewards are really great if you conquer it. All right, so I'm going to put in a nav tag and put in a hash for an ID for Emmett. Oops. Accidentally hit the wrong button on my laptop and got emoji cons. And we are going to call this one main-links. I'll hit the tab key. And traditionally, you always put links in a UL tag. So I'll put a UL tag there. And then I'm doing LI, a greater than symbol for an A. So what I'm telling Emmett right now is I want each LI to have a nested anchor tag inside of it. And I want 3 of them. So I'm going to hit an asterisk. So it's a multiplication times 3. And then I'll hit the tab key and it generated. Oops, it didn't do what I wanted to do. What I wanted to do is I'm going to circle the LI greater than anchor tag in parentheses and then put my cursor at the end and hit the tab key, because at first it did 1 LI with 3 anchor tags in it because it doesn't understand. It's not perfect. So now I'll hit the tab key after the 3. Oops. Hopefully someday I'll get it to work. There we go. So now I have the 3 anchor tag. You could do it probably just as fast cutting and pasting as I wanted it to be, but you know. All right, so in each one of these now I can stick my cursor in the first one, hold on my option key, second one, third one, type a hashtag. So that means it'll just go to the top of the page. Then in between the first one, this will say home. In between the second two, this will be contact. And the third one is going to be about. Now, as we go on to the semester and next semester, we'll be getting more and more sophisticated with portfolio pieces. So at the end, you'll have a completely home built, one you coded yourself portfolio that you can stick up there, and we'll have a working contact form in it and all that good stuff. So that is the end of the nav. Now we're still in the header tags. So I'm going to put some scroll here. And after that, what we're going to do is stick in our logo. So we're going to do a div with an ID hashtag, of logo, not hashtag logo, and then hit the tab key. And inside there, we're going to put an anchor tag. And I'm going to put a hashtag in there. And this logo is just going to be typography. So Hitcham Med is the photographer's name. Okay, so now we're going to put in another nav tag because nobody said you have just one. You can have as many you want. These are going to be social media links. So I'll give it an idea of social media. Tab key. So in between here, we got another UL. And then I'm going to put parentheses first this time. So do LI. Inside the LI, we're going to nest an anchor tag. And inside the anchor tag, we're going to nest an I tag. And then I'll go on the outside of the parentheses and multiply it times 3. Hit the tab key. So now I have what I want. So I have the I. The I is where you actually stick in the class for the social media icons. I'm going to just open this with a line server right now. So you can see we got our little thing going on. So again, option key in one of them, then I'm sorry, just click in between the quotation marks on one of the hrefs and then hold on the option key, click on the second and the third, add your hashtags. Now in the I tags, we're going to do the same thing because we're going to type a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to click on the first one between the tags, hold on my option key, click on the second one and then the third one. And I'm going to type the word class equals, and I'll close off the quotation marks and hit the left arrow. So now that is done. Oops, you know what? I'm in the wrong spot. I have to undo that because I need it to be next to the letter I. So space and then class. And then the class that we're first going to do is FA for Fun Awesome. And I'll do FA hyphen Facebook. Now we're going to change the bottom two in a second here. Then I'm going to hit the right arrow so I'm outside of the quotation marks. And I'm going to do ARIA hyphen hidden equals true. And what that does, ARIA is for handicapped people. What's the word? I forgot the word. Yeah, disabled people, but no, there's a special word for it. You have to do it. But it's a form of, it's also like a switch. It's like a toggle switch where you can have it hidden or you can have it showing, and you can grab JavaScript and place it. Like when we get into Bootstrap next semester, you'll be able to do things pretty easily with Bootstrap and have things hide and show based on whether if this is set to true or false, that type of thing. So it's for screen readers. It just says ignore these things to the screen reader or show them. So it's just one of those things that you stick in there. All right, so now, right now, if I save this, we should have 3 Facebook logos, and we do. So obviously the second one should be FA-Twitter. Save that. And now I should have a Twitter icon if I spelt it right. you don't spell it right, you're not going to see it. So now you can see I have a Facebook and a Twitter and a Facebook. The third one in this case is going to be Google Plus. So it's Google Plus. And these obviously social media stuff is going to change based on popularity and trends and things like now. I don't know what the hottest ones are because I'm an old man, but it could be Instagram or it could be whatever. There's different marketing techniques that you use for all these social media. So the first thing you have to discover is what it is you want to market. The second thing you got to discover is where does the audience go that would buy what I want to sell? And then you would research on how to do the social media marketing for that particular thing. So you're gonna have different age groups going to different social media markets. One size fits all doesn't necessarily work in this instance because it's marketing. And all right, so now you can see I have my icons here going across the top. So we are done with our header. So I'm going to actually close up the space. You can kind of go down a couple of them. You can put a remark in there if you want to. It just says this is the intro. And then you put a remark around, select it, do. Whatever it is that makes your life easier to see what stuff is. Now, some of it's self-descriptive because header's a header. And sometimes if you're going to use just naked divs or the div tag, you have to label stuff so you know what it is. All right, so this one is going to be a section, and we are going to give it an ID of intro. So hashtag intro, and then hit the tab key and set that up for you. And then we have an H1 and tag in there. And the H1 is going to call Hitchum Med Photography. So Hitchum Med is the photographer's name. Okay, and I'm going to take a paragraph and I'll put a lorem tag in there. And it's just junk. I'll turn on my view wrap, save it, and you can see that now I have this going on here. Okay, so underneath that, we're going to have another section here. So this will actually be photos. And I'm going to grab this, remark it out, and put a section tag there. And this one is going to have the showcase, ID of showcase. The tab key. Now, nested inside there immediately is the main tag. And whenever you're doing CSS Grid, which is how we're going to set up these photos, you got to have a parent container. In this particular case, we named our parent container with the main tags. But as we get into this stuff, it'll make more sense the way it goes. It's really tricky at first, so be patient with me, be patient with yourself, because it takes a while to go, oh yeah, that's what they're talking about. This stuff isn't easy, because if it was easy, you wouldn't be making the big bucks when you learn it. So I'm going to do a div and give it a class. Let's see here, cards container. And then we're going to set up our very first card. So each card is going to be a photograph. I'm going to have a photograph in it. So it should be looking something like that right now. And once we set up our card, we can copy and paste it. So if you remember the Frankenstein piece, we had a movie inside a box. That's basically a card too. We just had a lot of copy from Wikipedia inside each movie section. Well, this one, we're going to just have different photos, and then we're going to give it a title and that type of thing. So we're going to have a div with a class of card. And this is going to repeat over and over again. So I'm kind of isolating it so I can see where it begins and ends. You might want to put a remark down here. It just says end card, just so when there's a lot of stuff in there, you can find where it begins and where it ends, because you're going to copy and paste it several times. Okay, and also these photographs are huge. So when we get that far, they're going to just fill up the entire HTML page. So we're going to resize them, obviously CSS, but just as a warning, they're huge and you'll have to scroll to see all of them. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to create a div with a class of image. And inside there, we're going to put in an image. And the image source is going to be img slash, and we'll just do w1.jpg. And I'm going to leave the alt blank in here, but you can see this is a picture of what? Sand dune or beach. So like I said, these pictures are huge right now. Looks like kind of like it's a sand dune, but then there's could be, you know, I've seen this type of thing in Florida, so maybe that's where it is. Okay, the second thing we're going to add inside here, we're going to put it in its own div. And the reason why we're doing that is because of the way CSS grid works, so we can grab onto things. So this one will have a div of card title. So it'll be card hyphen title. So dot card hyphen title. Hit the tab key, and inside there we'll put an H2. And this will just say card title. Now, usually for a real site, if it was a commercial website, they'd be pulling this stuff in from a database, and you would never touch it. A coder would be doing it. A developer would be doing this. Why you're doing it right now is to get a taste of it and understand how it works, so that you can be a better designer. So it's not necessary for you to memorize all this stuff or to be intimidated by it. It's just, oh yeah, that's how it works, and then you'll be a better designer. People like you and hire you more. We're going to do another one after that closing card title, and this will be the card description. So it'll be div dot card DSC, the tab key, and I'm just going to put a paragraph and tag and some lorem. You can, like, I don't know, chop off, just have like a sentence in there instead. All right, and then one more thing inside the card, we're going to have a call to action button. Usually in marketing, you try to get marketing people, you try to attract interest, and then you have to sustain their interest, and you only have fractions of a second to sustain interest. And you understand what I'm talking about because you've seen enough ads and commercials in your life. If you're really interested in something, you're going to read the copy. If you're not interested, you're not going to read anything. So you're trying to attract attention, and then once you get them reading, once you get them interested in it, you got to sustain the interest, and you got to tell them what to do next. So that is usually called a call to action. In this case, it's a button. So it has to do with marketing again, and UX UI, the UX part has a lot to do with marketing. So it pays really well, but it is marketing, just so you know. So I'm going to do a div and give it a class of call -to -action and a tab key. And inside there, we're just going to nest a link. I'll just put an A and, you know, what a hashtag. And then the link's name is going to be read more. So we'll use CSS and make this look like a button. Okay, so now how many images do we have here? We have 6. I'm going to jump down and do the footer because otherwise you'll have to scroll through a lot of photos, and then we'll come back. We're going to copy each one of these and paste it 5 more times and then change, you know, like to the rest of it. We don't really have to change. We're just going to change the image in this case. Okay, so I would be smart right here to put a remark and then call this one cards container end. See, so now when this gets pushed down the page by 6 other things, I can tell where the stuff ends and it begins. Actually, div cards container end, the main tag is there, and then we have, I'm going to put another tag here that says end showcase. Because if I don't, that's going to be pushed down the page too, and I'm going to go, what in the world is that closing section tag for? And then I have to figure it out. Now, how you can figure it out too, some is just coming up here and closing stuff. You know, everything in there is now within that. As you're working, you might want to close things down, like you might want to close down the card number 1. And then when you paste it, you don't have all that stuff in there. But you'll get used to that. Okay, so we are ready to, there's 2, 3, I'm going to jump down to the footer here. Okay. So right after end showcase, I'm going to put a couple more things here, and I'm going to add another remark. And this one is going to say categories. Sometimes I just capitalize all of it because it's easier to see, but whatever you want to do. Okay, inside categories, I'm going to set in an aside. And then inside the aside, right underneath the aside, I'm going to stick in the footer. So the footer is going to have an ID of footer. ID equals footer. And then inside there, we're going to have a paragraph tag. And it's going to say made with, and we're going to use a special entity character because you can have the playing card suits in special. So we're going to use the hearts. So it's made with hearts, ampersand hearts. And that is going to show up as a little heart right here. You have ampersand spades and diamonds and whatever, but we're just using the hearts. Made with hearts by Hitchum Med. You can put the copyright in there. Now in the aside, jumping back up to this. So obviously we're done with this part here. So we can close the gap up between there. In the aside, we're going to start off with an H3. Oops. Tab it in, H3 tab. And this will say categories. And then inside, underneath the H3, we're going to put another nav set. In there, we'll put UL. And then we're just going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 LI. So I'm going to put in parentheses, LI greater than anchor tag. And then at the end, I'll do asterisk 5 and hit the tab key. So I got 5 of them. And then again, hold on my option key and go in between each of the hrefs and put a hashtag. And now I can name the first one's called nature. The second one is called business. The third one is called computers. The fourth one is called health. And the fifth one is called landscape. And we should be done, except for duplicating all the photos, which we'll do next. So that should be the bottom part. This is actually the second column here. And this is the footer. And then all the stuff here is in the first card. And then we have the intro and the header. So that should be all of it. So now I'm going to copy this card. So I'll copy it here. Come down here, tab in and paste. And I'm going to change W to 2 and close up this one. So there's 2 cards. And you can see right now that they're, when I save this, there'll be 2 cards. See that? And you can see that they're separated now by the copy. Oops, I don't need this no more. So here's the second one. There's a copy that we stuck in there, the read more button. So you get to make this all work, which is the fun part. Okay. And come up here, copy it a third time. Now this usually takes concentration because it's easy to screw up. So I'm going to tab this over and paste, and this one I'll call 3. You know, if you accidentally get some duplicates in there, it doesn't matter. This is just practice. 4. Close this one up. And notice that our tabs are getting screwed up every time I paste. But that's all right. We'll fix them afterwards. We'll do 5. Close this one up. And finally 6. So as you decide what you're going to do on your portfolio piece, you'll notice that you're going to have, you know, cards similar to this in Weebly. They won't call them that, they'll call them something else, but it's the same thing, it's similar. And, you know, you just got to decorate them all the same way. I'm just tabbing these all so they all line up so my future self can read this or my coworker can read this. You want to do that. take that extra bit of time and do it, unless you're fighting a deadline and this is due in a half hour, you know, then you don't care. But if you got time, then you do it. All right, so now we look at the finished page. If I save all this, it's 2, 3, you can see there's some beautiful photos. So now we're at the fun part. We're at the CSS part. And hopefully I didn't screw this up and it'll all work, but you know, it's easy to screw up, so. All right, so now I got to find my other one. Here we go. All right, so we're gonna jump over now and start stylizing this. So I'm going to try and make this narrower because again, the fun part is seeing the page just pull together. So right now it's really drab and boring and long. Okay, so we start off the asterisks. And we'll do a padding of 0 pixels. You don't really need pixels after 0 because there is no measurement after nothing, but you can put it there if you want. So then we'll do margin 0, and then we will do box sizing, border box. So everything goes on the inside of our shapes. Okay, so now we're going to do the body tag, and we're going to set the background color to a gray, so it's EC. Yeah, it's a beautiful shade of gray. And then we have the font family Roboto. So I'll cut this out and paste it here. And now you can see that we have that nice looking, that's a real popular font for some reason. People like that. But all our stuff is built with fonts. All right, underneath the body, we're going to do the header. So the header has a background color of pound 8E, 9E, A1, kind of a turquoise gray. And then we're going to display this as a flex. And once you do, notice that the 3 children of the flex are now side by side. So before I put the flex in, they were stacked. And then that's what you need for flexes. You need parent containers. So this nav tag for these 3 is 1 parent container. This one here was a 2nd parent container. And then we had our social media icons, and that's a 3rd parent container. So once you do that, it makes a life and layout easier for you. Like I said, it's new, so just bear with me and yourself, and we'll get there. We're going to align the items center. And once we do, things should pop. Like item center. Yep, I'm just making sure I didn't type in the wrong thing because it's easy to do. All right, so now we're going to stylize the anchor tags inside the header. So we got these social medias, actually everything inside there is an anchor tag. So we'll do header anchor tags. And we're set the color to white. And then we will set the text decoration to none, so we get rid of the underlines. And then we will set the padding to 20 pixels. And then we're going to make them all block level elements. So we'll say display as a block. So that will allow more space. Right now they're all inline. So just the word is the length, but when we add padding and stuff, by displaying them as inline block, or what are we displaying them as blocks, it's easier for people to click on them. Okay, so that is the header anchor tag. And now we want to get rid of these dots. So we're going to do the header, well, and we'll do list style type and set to none. So I got rid of the dots. Now, when we're going to be nesting flexible objects within flexible objects. See how these social media icons are stacked right now? We're going to actually do the next thing and have them go side by side. Okay, so in order to do that, what we're going to do is just say hype main links. That is an ID. I'm going to close off these images. That's an ID we gave earlier up here. I think, yeah, see this, we're doing this section right here. So it's home, contact, about. So you'll see those go side by side in a second. So main links, that is going to be display flex. Actually should be main links UL. So that will be display flex. See, and now they're nicely laid out like that. And then we're going to do the logo, which is just text in this case. And we're going to set the font size of the logo to 1.8 M. So it's bigger than the rest of it. And then we are going to set the margin to be 0 auto. So it's centered in this parent container. And then we're going to do the font family up here. Oops, I want to grab that. So I'm kind of done with that. So I'll just delete that remark and paste that here. See, so now all of a sudden you see that, hey, the guy's name is in the center of the screen. And of course, we got to display the social media icons horizontally as flexible too. And then we'll have this nice horizontal layout. Now, this seems hard, but compared to what we used to have to do, this is really cake. And you know, thankfully, you'll never have to live through that. But yeah, just trust me. So we'll do social links. I get the UL in there, and we're going to display that as flex. So, oops, did I spell something wrong? Oh, let's see, social. I gotta make sure it's spelled right. Where's the social media? That's what I want. Usually I'll cut and paste. So I'm saying grab the UL inside here with the social media. And if I do it right, it will work. Oops. Boy, I'm messing that all up. Social media. There we go. So it was social media. So now those are horizontal, these are horizontal, and this is horizontal. So good. Now we got a nav bar done. You notice that this stuff, the first three always stay to the left, the second one stays right in the middle, and the third one stays over to the right. And that is what way up here when we typed align items, that's what this does. It centers it. So it gives all the extra space that you have, and it centers the items, it sticks the extra space right in the middle. Now there's multiple settings for that. So if you go to new windows, let me do CSS Flex cheat sheet, you get that complete guide to Flexbox. And this is where you learn more about it. So align items, I'll show you, here you can justify the content, flex in, you can center stuff. We're looking for a line, and here you go. So you have flex start, flex end, flex center, flex stretch. So actually, I was a little bit wrong. This centers things vertically in the parent container. So you could have it at the start, you could have it nested at the bottom, you could have it stretch, or you could have it on the baseline of the text, or you could center things vertically. The one I was thinking of is this one, justify content, or space between is there. So as we progress in our knowledge of CSS Grid, it'll make more sense. It's just practice. It's just like drawing or anything else. The more you do, the better you get at it. First it's hard, then it starts getting easier. So All right, so social media link is done. Right now we're gonna do the intro part. We're gonna stylize that. So social media, we'll do the hashtag intro. And we're gonna set the minimum height of this parent container to 400. See, so right now you see that the intro is stretching the entire width. It'll stack and it'll push things around. But we don't want the height to shift, so we're going to set the minimum. We can get smaller, but we don't want to get bigger than 400 pixels. So we'll set the minimum height equal to 400 pixels. And then we display it as flex. And what that does immediately is it takes this, which is one child element, and the copy, which is the second child element, and puts them side by side. So here is the first child of intro, and this is the second child of intro. So that allows them to be next to each other, which is really nice for design, multi-column design. All right, so after that, we're going to set the flex direction to column. Now you're going to see them stack again because that's what column does. The reason why we're doing this is it's smaller or bigger sizes. You can have two column layout or you can have a single column layout. It just depends on what you want to do. Then we're going to justify the content to the center. See, so now we have the parent container and we aligned it so our content's always in the middle. So this is 400 pixels tall. This will automatically jump right to the center. No matter how wide it gets, it'll always be centered in there. And then we want to align the items in the center. And then we want to set the background color. We'll just do background. And that is going to be pound 8 E 9 E AB. And then we want the change the background to that. If we look at the final one, if I still have that one open, we have a photograph in there and then we have a gradient on top of it. So that's what we're setting up here right now. See that? That's what we're building. Okay, so in order to do that, what we need to do is set up a linear gradient. I'm just going to go to stylized final because I don't want you to try and type all this stuff in because it's just too much. So I'm going to grab this. Now the linear gradient, if we look at this, I'm not going to make you type it in. You have the linear gradient and you have the to and from color. And it goes from 50% up to 100%. So that's what the 0.5 was. And then you have the image cover on it. Now we have one for WebKit and then we have one that has it. Actually, we'll just do the second one here. So you don't need the remark with the W3C, IE, stuff like that. So I'm just going to copy this line. But you put the linear gradient first and then you put the image because the way it paints it is it reads it right to left. So it paints the image first and then puts a gradient on top of it. And come over here and paste. And save it. Hopefully it did it right and it worked. And you can see that that image is there, but it's way too big, really stretched. So we got to take care of that with the next line. I just background size. And it's just going to be cover. And now we have our photographer in there. Now this image is working at multiple sizes. See, there's enough space in there to get it to work, no matter what size it is. So when you're choosing your image, remember you only got the 9 positions. We discovered that in the last class. You got to kind of pick out an image that's going to work everywhere. or else you can swap them out depending on the size of stuff. Now we have a paragraph inside interest. It's button up to the edge of the parent container. So we'll do that next. So it's hashtag intro. And it's going to be a paragraph tag. And inside there, we're going to set the width of this to be 50%. And then we're going to center it margin 0 and auto. See, so now that paragraph is always right in the center. Oops. And then we want to stylize the H1 in there. So we're going to do an intro. I'm grabbing the H1 that is inside the intro section. So we're going to set the font size to 3M. So now it's bigger. And then we're going to set the padding. See how the paragraph is right up underneath it. If we set the padding to 20 pixels, it'll push it down 20 pixels. And then we're going to set the display to, oh, we're not going to do that. We're going to set the font family to this one. See, so now the H1 matches this here and this, and the rest of it's the other font. Okay. Now we'll start working on the cards. Because we got all these photographs in here and they should be cards. So we have the cards container. Which is a class. So we made it a class because we could use it in multiple places. Whenever you want, like, you know, the cards are all similar to each other. We have the same styling for the headline, the same styling for the paragraph, and so on. So we're using classes so that we can reuse it. We don't have to make a new one every single time. So we're going to set the padding of all the card containers to 20 pixels. And this is going to get kind of weird, squirrely for a while. So when it starts falling apart design-wise, you see it just hanging there, it'll work. So let's set the display as wrap. I'm sorry, displays flex. And then we're going to set the flex wrap to wrap. And what's going to happen now is, well, I think the images are all going to be next to each other, but in the final one, what we just did with the flex wrap equals wrap is this menu over to the right is always going to be next to it until we get down to a smaller size, and then it's going to jump down. Well, actually, it disappears. They hide it, but then when we pull it out, it gets wider. You can see the categories come up. So the flex wraps allows these things to stack on top of each other, and they also allow, you know, the full size is 3 columns or 4 columns. You can, as wide as your monitor is. I mean, that's how wide these things are going to go because we never set a limit to it. But then as you get smaller, they starts automatically breaking down into other column widths. All right, so that is that one. I don't need my extra semicolon here. So the next one we need is .cards, and now we're doing the .card, and we're actually doing the cards themselves. So we'll do a flex basis of 200 pixels. Now this is real advanced, so we're just going to type it in, and okay, I don't know exactly what it actually, I do know what it does, but it's too much right now. So, and then we'll do the overflow is hidden. I mean, if you really want to know, you can go to the CSS cheat sheet here. And flex basis is right here. But anyway, all right. So now on ours, notice, ooh, what happened to our pictures and our sidebar? See that? They're all next to each other. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All our images are right next to each other. So that's what happened when we did that. The flex basis basically says how small it can get. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is for the car overflow header. Where did I get that from? It's hard glancing back and forth, so I missed some here. We'll do flex grow. I'm running underneath flex basis. We'll do flex grow. And we'll set that to 1. Again, that has to do with, these two have to do with the column width for the layout. Then we'll set the maximum width to be 350 pixels. See, so now our things are 350 pixels wide. Then underneath the max width, we're going to set the margin to 10 pixels. And then we're going to set a box shadow on each one of these things. And where's my box shadow things? It's 0, 0, a 5 pixel blur, and RGBA. And we're going to set that to black. And then we're going to set that to 10%. So now there's a little tiny 10% blur. And you can see that we have a nice spread of our stuff going on here. Now you're going, I can't possibly memorize all this. How am I going to know how to do this? And I don't have it memorized either. What I do is I find examples of what I want and I copy and paste, because that's perfectly legitimate to do. You're not stealing. It's not copyrighted. It's just people do figure stuff out. Really good, cool designers figure stuff out and they post it on a blog post or something or in other sources, and then you imitate what they do and you get some good layouts. Now, as a designer, you wouldn't be designing it in code, you'd be designing it in XD. So that is what XD is for, is you can make up cards and you can do things visually with a WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get interface. So don't be frightened by all this stuff, because unless you're going to go into coding, you're not going to really be doing it. You'll just be designing it. So, all right, so that right here, and make sure all that stuff's box shadow. The next thing now is the background color. So we're going to return that to white. And then we're going to set the display to flex. And then we're going to set the flex direction of column. I don't know where this is from. I don't remember. Oh, I put this in the wrong spot, so I'm just going to delete that for now. So flex, and then we're going to do flex direction as column. And if you're following along in the PDF, I'm on line 77, so 78 would be transition. So we're going to actually animate the size of the images when we roll over them. So that's what the transition is for. In this case, we're animating the box shadow. And we're going to animate the box shadow in 30% of a second. All right, so that's actually a card. I'm just going to go through and make sure I did it all right, because otherwise, flex width, margins 10, box shadow, yep. All right, so now we're going to do the card hover effect. So it's .card : hover. So when somebody rolls over the card, it will do the animation. So I'm just going to pick up box shadow again. Paste that, and we're going to change it to 20% instead of 10%. So that'll be real subtle. And we'll also change the blur to 25 pixels. So now when you hover over the cards, they're going to change the shadows. You can't see it right now. Okay, so now I'm going to do the card images. And dot card image. Set the height of this thing to 200 pixels. And this is where I picked up the overflows hidden. And then we'll do the transform. And it's going to be scale. It'll be 95%. So transform scale, you put the size that you want it to be inside parentheses. So it's 0.95, and then you're only increasing it by 5% when you hover over it. And then we're going to do the box shadow again. So I'm just going to pick up this one. Paste it. So this box shadow has a 20 pixel blur and a 20% black. And then we're going to set the transition. Pick this up. So transforming is like in Illustrator, when you have the bounding box around something and you rescale it or unproportionately, proportionally, or you rotate it. That's a transform, where you're transforming the object. Transition is like in After Effects, when you're going between scenes in a movie, you have a dissolve transition is usually, or just a cut transition, where you could have any sort of transitions. So that is going in between scenes. So we're like combining animation here. That's what the transition does. So what we're going to transition or animate is the transform. So I grab this, paste it, and we're going to do that in 303 parts, 30% of a second. So it's getting there right now. You can see the drop shadows working on that one. They roll over it. It's one way, roll on top of it's another. The images, we haven't got all the code in there quite yet. So they're still broken. So that's why it still looks kind of weird. But there's no right way to put these in any order. It's kind of arbitrary. So now we'll do the dot card hover. So when we hover over the pictures, they're going to grow by 5%. Dot card image. And then we'll just pick up the transform here, paste it, and we'll set it to 1. So now when we hover over the cards, they should transform. I might have typos in there because I'm talking and trying to do this at the same time, but it does work in the finished one. So that's what we're doing. See how they grow 5%? That's what we just did. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is take care of the height and the width of the card. So it's dot card hyphen image, and we're doing all the images inside there. And we'll set the height to 100%. We'll set the minimum width to be 100%. So if yours isn't working, I probably got a typo in there or broke it. So, but I'm just going through the motions anyway right now. So it might have been here. So I got my card image. So you're going card. Let's open up one of these and see. So here's the class of image. That might be card image. Card image. Might be this card hyphen image. So yeah, it is. That's where the error is. See, that's how the card should be looking, like that. So that is, each one of these has a mistake in it. So this should not be just image, it should be card.image. See, and then I duplicated it, so now I got to fix it 6 times. So that is how you troubleshoot stuff. If stuff isn't working, you go back and go, why isn't it working? So there's W2. So you come down here to W3. So you could say, okay, well, now I can see why it's important to put remarks in there. You know, this would be card 3. You could put a remarks calling each one. Unscroll card number 4, which is here. This would be card -image. And then card number 5. Now, the other way to fix this is just to change the class in the CSS to just say .image, but then I was frightened that if I do it in the CSS, then it might interfere with the HTML tag of image. So giving your, this isn't really a designer's job, but giving your classes what they do instead of what they look like would be a better idea. So I got one more. And you can see that it's fixed now, the issues. The rollovers are working, both the drop shadow and the size. So I got that one other image to do right here. So there should be card -image. So yeah, little things can mess it all up on you. See, there's the 6 card. We go back to styles. And now it makes more sense why it wasn't working before. Okay, so that is the card image. And then we're going to do the card titles now, because that's what these things are here. So come over here and do card -title. And this, we're going to set the padding to 10%. 10 pixels. Yep, 10 pixels. So now I got 10 pixels going around the card title. And then we got to do the card description. So let's do .card-description. And do padding 10. See, so now I have a border around all my images. Card description, padding 10. Padding top is 0. I have an extra character in there. That's why it doesn't like it. See, I had that slash in there and it broke it. See how it's broken? And then it's kind of showing me the slashes there because I have a typo, and I delete it, save it, and now it fixed it. So I got my padding around there. And then the next part here is padding top is 0, and then we got the margin bottom is 20 pixels. Hey, the TV didn't go off today, did it? Weird. Maybe they fixed it. Okay. 20 pixels. There we go. Okay, so now we got to decorate our buttons, our call to action buttons. So down here, we do .card and then .call -to-action, and the margin is 10 pixels. See, so now I got that going on there. Then we want the margin top to be auto on the buttons. And then we want the align cell flex start. What in the world does that mean? Well, if we take a look at our cheat sheet here, notice that all the read mores jump to the right. That's what this line did, flex end. It stuck them all at the end of it. So as you progress in your knowledge of what you can do with CSS is going to help your design, because you can figure out, you know, hey, I can do this stuff with it. And the developer doesn't have to jump through hoops to get it to work. So we just did flex N. So we pushed all the content over to the end. Even if you only have a single item, like our single button, you can use this to position it on your screen. So again, as a designer, you would be doing all this in XD. And next semester, you'll be learning XD because it's an important part of this. But yeah. All right, so that's the final, that's that. Let me get rid of this here. All right, so now that's done. We want to do the anchor tag inside of this. I'm just going to pick all this stuff up here. Copy it, paste it, get rid of the, add an anchor tag, and then re-add the brackets. So you're going to display this, we're going to make buttons. So display this as a block. And then we'll add padding, 10 pixels on the top and bottom and 15 pixels on the left and right. And then we're going to set the color of the font to white. And after the color is white, we're going to set the background color. Background color. That would be hashtag E8 or 8E, pardon me, 8E, 9E, and A1. See, so now we picked up the same color that's in the menu. So it's looking more and more like a button. Okay, and then after that, we're going to set the text decoration to none to get rid of the underline. And I'm going to set the border to solid transparent. Now, whenever you do a transition of a border, you want to, it'll add a border and it'll look weird when you animate. When you hover over it, it will suddenly draw a border and change the size of the button. So if you know that you're going to animate the border, you want to set it to a transparent border so it doesn't change size as you're doing it. So that's why we're kind of like setting the border to be 2 pixel solid transparent, because when we roll over it, the border is going to appear. We don't want it to change size. So border 2 pixels solid and the color is transparent. So it's going to draw a border there, but you won't be able to see it. See how it just expanded in size a little bit? It was very subtle, but it did expand. All right, then we're going to do a transition property. That is going to be transparent. So did I do that right? No, we're going to do border. And we're going to do the background color. And we're going to do the font color. So this allows you to stack 3 properties. Otherwise, you'd have to do transition border. You have 3 different transitions going on there. So by using transition property, we're saying we're just animate these properties here. And those are the ones we'll grab. And then we're going to do the transition duration for each one of those things to 30% of a second or 0.3 of a second. That should be that. You know, a little S there to tell you that. So that is that section. Now you can't see anything because I don't have a hover state there yet. So we'll do that next. So grab all this, copy it. And after the letter A, we put in the hover. And this time we're going to change the border color. And 2 pixels solid. And this will be the color of the same one right here. And then we're going to change the actual background of this thing, the background color, to be, oh, I didn't put a semicolon at the end of that. That's why it was red. Background color is going to be transparent. So it's going to go to white visually. Maybe roll over, it should work. See? It does work. It's kind of cool. I'll show you what happens if you knock out the 2 pixel solid part, why you put that in there. And we're going to change the color to I lost my place. Oh yeah, I'll change it to the same color as this. Now, you notice we're repeating the same color over and over and over again. There's a way to set up a variable, so you only put that once, and then if somebody comes through and says, I don't want that color, I want it to be blue, then you'd have to go find each instance of this and change it to blue, which isn't really dramatic because you could do a search and replace on there. So it's not the end of the world, but it'd be easier just to change it in one spot rather than multiple spots. So now our button should work when we roll over it. See that? See how nice that is? It's kind of cool how it works. If I get rid of this right here, I'm just going to remark it out for a second. You don't have to do it, but notice what happens to the buttons is the border suddenly comes in, and it's not very smooth. It changes the size of the card, and that's why you stick in a transparent border so it doesn't change the shape of the card when you roll over it. Okay. And I'm going to stop right there, and we'll wrap this up in the next class. But look at how far you've come. I mean, look at how, compared to where you started, I mean, it's pretty far. If you weren't able to keep up, please watch the recording and try it on your own, or just cut and paste and do it line by line so that you figure out what this stuff does. So the more you know, the better of a designer you're going to be. So we still have we have to do this. We have to do the second column. Pretty sure we're done with the cards though. Okay, I'm just going to go back to see who's here. Screen participants. Okay, and stop sharing, end the meeting, and you guys can go.